Power Trading Hour with your host, David White. Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648 or internationally at 727-873-7618. Now, David White.
And welcome all to another excellent edition of the Power Trading Hour. And, we've got a market that's up slightly, about 0.6% on the S&P cash. Volume is not exciting, so it's not a follow-through. We're around where maximum resistance can be. If we just kind of hang out at these levels, we could slowly kind of chew through and get higher. We've got a lot of things going on. Let's go through all the stuff on my list. Of course, China is closed. They open back on Monday. I've been wondering if a lot of the money that came into the U.S. was from China this week and is hedging positions while they are closed. Maybe all that money exit stage left tomorrow to go back to the Chinese markets again. Just a thought, just a theory, but not any proof yet. We'll see. Of course, the next big Fed meeting is next Wednesday. That also coincides with fund buying, so I'm assuming that generally the fund buyers stay out until after the Fed meeting, so that means maybe Thursday into next week before we see that. There's a bill to stop anybody in Congress and their spouses and kids from trading stocks. Don't know how far that will go. Of course, that's in the echo of finding out someone sold their shares in Google right before there was yet another antitrust suit coming. But maybe they're just omniscient. Anyway, bios are under fire. There's some undercover video out there we'll talk about. Not so much this, but kind of my overarching view, because I had a few people ask me about bios in particular. And I have a feeling that there's a much broader way that you should look at any of these things that have bad news, that the market could, maybe just ignore, as it does many times. After the bell tonight, we've got Intel, Visa, KLA, Thinkorswim, and Weyerhaeuser. And if you're into the social media companies, the Supreme Court's hearings are going to be delayed by about 15 or 30 days. Can't find out exactly how long they're going to do it, but they've asked for comment from the White House, Justice Department. But this is all on the hearings of free speech. That originally was going to be like on the 24th. It was going to be like in the third week of February. So that may push that off to March. But there may be, generally the Supreme Court doesn't take things unless they're going to change it. So we're probably going to look at a much different interpretation of Section 201, which has allowed many of these big companies to avoid any kind of lawsuit when that's not what was actually written by Congress. Basically, you can't sue them for anything that someone else puts on their website. Doesn't mean that there's some kind of unilateral ability to censor anyone you dislike. Of course, Twitter over the last, 30, 45 days, every day has a drip, drip, drip of somebody else deciding what we should and should not see. I think that's going to weigh very heavily on the Supreme Court in the future. And this is not new. We talked about it last fall. From the first time that electronic communications were started, people tried to use it against everybody else. This goes back to Western Union in the beginning of the teletype and Morse code service here in the United States. With in years, basically Western Union, any article it didn't like, it just wouldn't pass along to the rest of the newspapers in the United States. Well, and that was 1850. So we're probably talking everything on the east side of the Mississippi, or mostly on the east side of the Mississippi in 1850. I think it was. Wasn't, I think it was the mid-1870s before we had both a rail line and telecommunications from coast to coast. I think it was. Anyway, this is just one of about 10 cases the Supreme Court has pulled up that will have drastic effects on stocks this year. So just know that there's probably going to be some level or legal level component in many of these stocks, especially in technology, that have been using a law and probably painting with a big 4-inch brush instead of probably with a little highlighter is the way that the Supreme Court is going to rule on those. 877-927-6648. And always, you can post something in the den. Email me at path@tfnn.com. And, of course, you can call 877-927-6648. Okay, what else do we have going? We got about 2 minutes here. Why don't we just talk a little history, finish this up, and then we'll get back because we have a lot of charts to look at.
Then it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
On this day in 1918, soon after the Bolsheviks seized control in Russia, and the Ruskies, November 1917. On this day, the state of Ukraine declares its total independence from Russia. Wow. 100 years of this going on. One of a pre-war Russia's most prosperous areas, the vast flat Ukraine. The name can be translated at the border or borderland, was one of the major wheat-producing regions of Europe, as well as rich with mineral resources, including vast deposits of iron and coal, still to this day. And, of course, Russia kind of really needs it, not entitled to it. But very interesting. Back in this area, in fact, into the Second World War, when both Germany was invading Russia, and then Russia came back and started invading Germany at the end of it, there were not a lot of roads or improved roads, but there were hundreds of miles of wheat just waving in the grass, and kind of the equivalent of going snowblind. When one bunch was being run one direction, they wouldn't have a lot of roads or anything or trees to see. And many of the troops on both sides, as they just wandered aimlessly mile after mile through these wheat fields of waving grains, would go insane. It is that open of a territory. If you've ever driven through Kansas, very much like that without the roads. Be back in a minute.
Currencies, commodities, and bond markets are as important as ever right now with how they're driving the volatility in equity markets across the globe, which is why it's a great time to try out Teddy Kegstad's Tiger Forex Report. Teddy Kegstad breaks down the Forex markets every Monday using his 30-plus years of experience as a trading veteran of futures, Forex, stocks, and options. Teddy releases his weekly Tiger Forex Report every Monday morning with coverage of all the major currency pairs, including the dollar index, the euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar Swiss, dollar yen, as well as many more, and he also has weekly coverage of the crude oil market and the 30-year T-bonds, as they both influence Forex markets tremendously. When you sign up for the Tiger Forex Report, you also gain instant access to Teddy's 60-minute webinar archive he just hosted, Forex Strategies and Fundamentals, What is Behind the Tiger Forex Report. For all the details and to start your 30-day Tiger Forex Report subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Are you grinding in the market, but seeing little to no return? Or are you a successful trader, simply looking to make your job a little easier? Learn to take the path of least resistance with David White's powerful trading newsletter. David White is an accomplished trader whose deep understanding of technology and the markets allows him to consistently find and share winning trades. Support and resistance define the ranges in which stocks trade. By understanding these trading ranges, David White is able to find the path of least resistance. David White's trading newsletter, The Path of Least Resistance, is delivered daily before the markets open to make every trading day an easy win. Visit TFNN.com today and subscribe to David White's Ultimate Trading Newsletter for $119 a month and try all of our newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Take the path of least resistance at TFNN, educating investors. Are you looking for a way to consistently add winning trades to your portfolio? Tom O'Brien is here to help. Tom O'Brien has been successfully trading markets for over 30 years. A frequent contributor to TD Ameritrade Network and CNBC, Tom O'Brien founded TFNN over 20 years ago to help educate investors just like you. Tom's daily market newsletter, Market Insights, is published every morning when the markets open to give you the competitive informational edge you need to succeed. These newsletters are packed full of Tom's advanced technical analysis and are geared to deliver comprehensive strategies for a successful portfolio. Get Tom O'Brien's newsletter, Market Insights, today and try all of our products and newsletters 30 days risk-free with our money-back guarantee at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-873-7618.
And we're back. I had some questions about whether or not anything's really going to happen to any effect for the biotechs on this and a ton of other news that has come out. And let me see. Okay. One of the things that you should know and one of the things you want to watch out for is that there is a sector in the stock market of which the fines in this sector have been double over any other sector ever, and that is biotech. And these fines have been for a variety of reasons, from fudging some paperwork to fudging trials to fudging literally everything. And that's probably why these stocks tend to react so much more than any other. Is it's happened a lot, especially in smaller cap stocks. So when we see stuff that makes us start to scratch our head and go, you know, a lot of people go, well, no, it just couldn't happen. These are big companies. Well, J&J, I think, is the second. I mean, these are the guys that made all the stuff like No More Tears shampoo. How could these folks be the most fined companies ever? Well, they are, and there's for a reason. So what's not to have rose-colored glasses on just because we particularly like a particular stock at this time and it's making us rich, either being long or short it. Just remember, I like to think about all these kind of news. For the most part, if you're a big company and something is true, first, it's ridiculed. Second, it's violently opposed. And third, suddenly, years later, it's accepted as being self-evident. Thank you, Arthur Schopenhauer, who died in 1860. And that's the way it works. So don't get your cart in front of the horse. Generally, if bad news is actually true, the people that are in charge of making money want to sell it to you before the truth comes out. So there will be lies on top of lies. Then they'll just violently oppose it. And then once they've sold all their shares in it, oh, Well, we knew it all along. So this is a stock one, not a ethics one. Just know that you are swimming with the sharks when it comes to any stock in the market. And just kind of double that when you get into biotech. There are some reasons. I think all these people, not completely evil. Some are, some aren't. But if you spent 10 or 15 years of your life developing a drug, maybe you've seen some people that lives have been saved by it. And maybe it's kind of easy to look past the ones that died in those trials. So that's there's a, when your check depends on success, it's kind of easy to look the other way on a lot of things, and why you get so many big either outright frauds like what was that gal's name that just got sentenced a little while ago for the blood thing? How quickly I forget. 877-927-6648. And you can email me at path@tfnn.com. Okay. Okay, we'll look at that. Let's go back to some charts here. As I said, I don't know how much of this stuff I'm going to be able to get to because we've got so much stuff. I will start with Tesla. We warned you. I warned you about a biblical level of shorting in Tesla. You are rarely right when that many people, and we're talking about more than 40% each day for the last 3 days, and mostly in the 35% for a week. We're all on this. I think that they were on it for dogma reasons politically, not so much of what they were actually seeing at Tesla. Now, they dropped their prices. That made them qualify in a lot of places, not just the United States, but China and Europe. They wrote these rules that would help most of the companies besides Tesla because they put that right under that price point. So Tesla wouldn't get, in most places, maybe $7,500 a car tax credit. So Tesla dropped its prices. Everybody yelled and screamed for about a week. But it did come out and mean that they at least kind of made their goals. I've made no bones about this company being eventually a $40 company. But, hey, Kmart was bankrupt and lasted for 10 years. And AMC makes no money, is a giant loser. And it went to hundreds of dollars or whatever. Just know that a stock is not a company. Eventually, the underlying will catch up, though, with the stock. It's all a matter of timing. 877-927-6648. Okay, what else do we have out here? Okay. Anyway, big volume day. We had some discussions earlier in the day on what was going on for Tesla. Some people are thinking about shorting it. I don't like the odds. Doesn't mean it can't drop back down tomorrow. But I would place the odds at 80% of it holding its value for the next 3 days. Especially if you gap up with high shorts. There's just the ability for the market to know that some people are probably skiing out past the tips of their skis, i.e. on margin. And if you just hold up the price for about 3 days, they're going to eventually or going to probably blink. At that point, if everybody quits shorting, then maybe it goes down lower. Unfortunately, everybody sees it go higher and they short even more. I won't be surprised to see that today is a 50%. 1 out of every 2 shares is shorted on Tesla. Maybe I'll be wrong. I won't know until about 9 o'clock tonight. But, for the most part, stocks do not go lower until everybody quits shorting. I'm showing it on screen now. We brought it up the other day also, and that is that you want to look at when they do quit shorting, that you can have some real problems. And, well, it's not as easy as that is it. Maybe I can zoom in here a little bit more. Nah, it's just because of the scaling. We brought up on Sava about the incredibly light shorting of the last 3 days before this thing reversed, why it had been shorted every single day to extremes. It only takes a couple of days, but you'll see that they'll give up 1 or 2 or 3 days, and that is generally when the retrace is going to happen. I say it many times, you want to short when everybody else quits shorting. If the real underlying hasn't changed. Actually, this chart doesn't look very bad, does it? I would still want to see, on a long-term basis, $22 on this would be a beautiful chart pattern, and you've come back on, other than the last couple of days, on very light volume. We'll be back in a minute.
If you want to take advantage of this sector, now is the time to subscribe to my Gold Report. The Gold Report is a comprehensive look at the metal sector as well as the markets that move gold, which is the currency and bond markets. New subscribers get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. Every Monday morning, I publish the Gold Report with coverage of gold, silver, bonds, the XAU, HUI, GDX, as well as more than 30 different mining equities. To see for yourself the types of profitable trades that are recommended within the Gold Report, sign up now by visiting TFNN.com. Don't miss out on the next great gold trade. Sign up today.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern. For free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN is excited about our new software charting program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts. In collaboration with Tom O'Brien and using his best-selling book, The Art of Timing the Trade, Your Ultimate Trading Mastery System, David White has programmed an outstanding piece of software that will complement any trader's methodology. Using this first-of-its-kind program, The Art of Timing the Trade Charts allows you to scan thousands of stocks for Fibonacci formation setups, including Gartley's, ABCs, butterflies, and much more. The Art of Timing the Trade Charts is designed to help you when scouring the markets for stocks just beginning to form the trading patterns that many investors spend days, weeks, or even months searching to find. And right now, we're offering licenses available at only $79 a month. We are so confident that you're going to love this new charting software that will even give you a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible new piece of software. Get your copy of The Art of Timing the Trade Charts today by visiting TFNN.com.
This segment is brought to you by Thinkorswim. For more information, just click the Thinkorswim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
And somebody in the den brought up UNG. Kind of interesting. You're going to have more volume, really, than any time back to the 11th. Right now, you got almost 28 million shares. Could this be a selling climax? Well, you never know. No real signal other than a lot of volume at a new low. You'd probably love for this thing to bounce and come back. But again, very tough trade to go into this time of the year and not be in an uptrend. It takes... Well, the seasonal part of natural gas, of course, doesn't come back in strong until August. But could you bounce up to 1150 on nothing more than a dead cat bounce? Yeah, that's actually a fairly decent trade. Okay. Question about the VIX. And where do you see a bottom in the VIX? I don't see anything particularly. I use the VIX a lot differently than I think a lot of other people. When I see the VIX at 14 or 12, I know that there's absolutely no way I should be owning an equity, that I should be able to find options that are cheaper and have less risk than actually owning the equity in case something incredibly bad happens. When they're fairly high, I tend to not own option. Let's say VIX in the 20 or 18s or something. I tend to not want to own options for more than a day or two, and why I tend to play options on the day that they expire, the day before, so that I have some bang for my buck, some risk reward out there. And so when options are that high, that is kind of big. So, the VIX, what do you get down to 10 or sometimes, but I don't think that there's anything in the VIX right now that actually does much. I do have on my list of stuff to watch a series called Fear, which is about this guy. I think it's like 6 episodes from Europe, about this guy who writes a program that starts to learn based on the VIX, and it's just called Fear. Anyway, not much talk about it here in the United States, but I got a copy of it, and I'm going to watch it. But it's kind of interesting that, I have a feeling it's going to run off the rails by episode 4 or whatever, because it kind of, his algorithm starts to learn and trade on its own, and he acts like he can't go over there and just pull the cord out. But, that's how those things go, don't they? But I'll see if it's interesting. Okay. That's the first one. Okay. Second one, XOM last hurrah before a big pullback. I don't think so. We brought it up, and I mean, the people in the transportation and energy sectors from our White House have basically said they've lost control over pricing that they thought that they were going to have via Russia. And so, yeah, I think that there's a few things that any politician will actually admit to, but that they no longer control the price that Russia can get from the quote sanctioned oil. I think that tells you a great deal. You got 13 million shares today into a 16 million share high. You get 16 million shares, that's a valid breakout. And I just saw gas at $3.90, and I think it was $3.30 when I looked a week ago, when I ran out for lunch today. So I think one of the reasons I am kind of leaning toward the side of being a little bit bearish on this market is I know 80% of inflation is tied to energy at some level. We're back to pretty high gas prices. My guess is that, and especially with Exxon today, I think it's giving us an idea that we're going to go back to the highs that we had not that long ago in gasoline. The only reason they came down is we opened the floodgates of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. There does seem to be a reticence, even in both sides of the Congress, to do that again, especially if we actually need that oil for something like a war. So I think you'd like a little more volume, but if you end up with like 18 or 20 million shares, valid breakout on Exxon today. Okay. Let's see, we got that. We talked in the den a little bit earlier about probably the most important stocks, the canaries in the coal mine kind of stocks. And the one I brought up was Marine Max. I didn't know, but apparently some of the other, what would you call them, bigger mouthpieces in retail stock trading have been an idea on short on this. We talked about it for a while on planes. If you can fly it or float it, or you have to set your parking brake before you go to bed in it. That's an RV if you live in Lutz. It is problematic. We brought this up even starting last September when I started saying that the prices of sailboats and regular boats were starting to get hit. And you get those, a lot of times you'll get those kind of warnings, a quarter or two before it actually hits the stock market itself. We just had the big boat show here in Tampa. And it was not, maybe it was part of the weather, so you never know. But it wasn't as tended nearly as well as it was before. The weather wasn't horrible. It was just kind of cool. And, of course, if the weather isn't perfect down here in Tampa, you don't go outside. The air conditioning is great in the summer. And for the 2 weeks you use heat, you got that in the winter. But it was a little cold. Sun wasn't out one day. That's enough to run off a lot of people down here. So anyway, you got a huge down day. The other one that we'd been talking about for a while, and I call them precursors to a recession because they are the first to start showing problematic issues, and that's CWH. Is that right? CWH, Camping World. And we kind of talked about this one. It had a big hit. And it was either earnings or news. Can't remember now if it was pre-announcement. But on the 18th, had a huge down day and really has done nothing but go sideways since then. If it was over $30, I would have been short on it. In fact, kind of kicked myself that this November 10th high, I did not short it. But as I said, these kind of tell you which way the market's going. And again, if you can fly it, float it, or have to set the brake on it before you go to bed, problematic. 877-927-6648 as we go back to it. Okay, I think that gets it. Let's go back to earnings and see if we can't go through as many of these as possible. We'll probably get most of the next segment. American Airlines, kind of a wide candle back on support for the gap up on the 12th. That had 96 million shares. Today you've got 32. So you went into the candle on lighter volume. Airlines still look good. We'll be back in a minute.
Sharpening your skills as an investor is like getting better at playing a musical instrument. You have to practice, sure, but you also need excellent instruction from experts. At TFNN, you'll get advice and guidance from the authority in technical market analysis. And it's not just dry, tedious text either. TFNN airs live financial content streamed live on TFNN.com and TFNN's YouTube channel with Tiger TV, live every market day from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern, for free. Each host is an experienced trader and gives their take on the market while taking calls and questions live from around the world. From the moment the market opens until the closing bell sounds, Tiger TV has 8 different shows with expert hosts to help you make the right moves with your money. Watch online at TFNN.com or on TFNN's YouTube channel and become the investor you were born to be. TFNN, educating investors.
The technology around us is changing every day. With so much happening, it can seem impossible to keep up with all the information. David White's investment newsletter, The Technology Insider, is designed to give you all the information you need to understand the technology that shapes today's markets and tomorrow's future. David White has made his living staying on the cutting edge of technology. His weekly newsletter will give you specific recommendations for value tech stocks, as well as entry prices, target prices, and stops to set for each trade. Dave delivers his weekly newsletters every Friday with updates throughout the week. You can get the Technology Insider at TFNN.com for only $37.50. Sign up for David's newsletter, The Technology Insider, and get an inside look at everything the technology sector has to offer. Try it risk-free today with our 30-day money-back guarantee. TFNN, educating investors.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
And we'll go through as many of these as we can. As you said, American Airlines, a nice test of the lows on lighter volume. ADM, supermarket to the world. I don't know if you can make a great deal out of this one on earnings. AWK, which is American Waterworks, which is me when my trade doesn't go the way I want to. A whole lot of nothing, no volume out here today. BX, a little bit higher on Blackstone Group. Did go back up above a gap. The gap had 15 million shares. You got 4.6 million shares today. CSX did fill its gap higher that had 18.3 million shares with 16.4. That's problematic because you're probably going to get more volume, which means 29.39 probably has a 75% chance of getting tested. Chevron, another in this energy space where you're looking at it coming close to being retesting its November 14th high. Nice gap higher today. Again, we talked about at least the White House, Energy Secretary and Transportation's talking about losing control of the price of oil as the way Russia sells it. It lasted all about 30 days, apparently, to bring it all back down. And energy costs could be on the rise, if not back up to the highs in no time at all. Keep an eye on them. Dow Chemical, kind of a wide-ranging bar today, not a whole lot. We already talked about HCO, which is a boat selling company, MarineMax, and Camping World. There isn't quite the equivalent in airplanes, but I've seen the prices on those come down significantly over the last couple of months. We've got IBM. It dipped again. Problems in most of the cloud spaces. Maybe we've overbought or built for the pandemic, and now that bill's coming due. You came back into a bar that had about 4.4 million shares with about 13 million today. Long term, I think the path on IBM is fairly good. Short term, it's really the issue on cloud services is overhanging the better long-term view of its quantum computing. A big doji out here on JetBlue. Not much going on here. Lilly had a lot of movement before the bell. And, of course, we're still going to have problems with those bad ticks of a few days ago. See if they got rid of it. See if it's... Who knows? Some of the stuff got cured, some of it didn't. And it's different on every system I've looked. So I don't know. Maybe at this point it's time to just take the day out of the 24th. Who knows? Anyway, not much of a movement in Lilly today. Lamb Research trying to come back up to the previous high. You need about 2.6 million shares. You got about 1.6 so far today. Love is in the air. I'm always surprised that these guys don't run that song along with their ads. Love is in the air. Of course, I don't think they're promoting their ticker symbol as much as us people in the stock market would love. Huge volume, down a little bit. Not exactly sure why it's different out here. LVS, Las Vegas Sands, of course, China reopening a huge amount of gambling sites over in Macau. Nice pop on this one with significant volume. When you go back into it, you know, you've got some other stops, but maybe 66.77 again, the March 3rd, 2001 high. MMC, Marshall McLennan, correct? Just kind of trying to get back up to these previous highs. Not a lot going on in that one. Again, with all the war going and rumors of wars, we'll go a little biblical here. Kind of surprising you can't see these things going as well as they should. Got to a high of 473.20 today. Right now, 452. Low of the day was 450, so we're not that much higher. But very weird that we're not seeing the kind of movement you would think with all the saber rattling going on. Nokia, nice little gap higher again. Probably everybody just a little too short. ServiceNow, people really didn't like it after the earnings call. It is a little higher. It did fill this gap with a lot of volume today, but now just kind of sitting back into it. But you wanted, something in the neighborhood of 2 million shares. You got about 4 million, but it's not holding the highs. New, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay. Nucor, nice pop here higher today. Some decent volume. I don't know if that makes a whole lot. Next high is 185.45. That's from April 21st of last year. So you really don't have that far to go. Energy off the low and the energy on this move higher just hasn't been a whole lot. PPG, of course, makes a lot of things like windshields, paint, and everything for automotive products. Just kind of gapped down and got some of it back on not a whole lot of volume. ROCK. No, ROK. No, ROCK. Rockwell Automation tried to bounce through a bunch of previous highs. Did have some decent volume, but it's not holding that high today, right now at 282, but did kind of break through previous resistance for a little while. Roku, who I remember how much flack I took at when this thing was in the 400s, and I said I had absolutely no idea how these guys made money. Didn't have enough to know that they didn't make money. I just never could figure out how they were supposed to make money. Now that I know that they make money, it's probably not worth shorting them. But you did have a little bit of gap higher on this one today. It gave it all back up. 38.28 is the last low. That's probably where this thing is going to go. Just knowing now how they're supposed to make money and how they're probably not going to make a lot of money. The question is, at what point does someone else come in and buy these folks out? My guess is that they're going to be in huge hot water for the data that they're collecting from their sets that violates a lot of different laws. They've just been able to avoid it, why everybody goes after the big fish like Facebook and Google and others. SAP, a little gap down today. Volume's going to be good. Next gap comes in at 110. You got to low 112.30. So you probably still have a little to go on probably first support. SHW, which is the Sherman-Williams, heads up. And that is that you blew through and down to the gap higher on November 10th. That gap had 2.7 million shares. You blew through it with twice the volume already today, 5.9 million shares. Who thinks that higher interest rates are going to actually make house sales go higher? I don't think anybody. The one I was wrong on when we return.
If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
You might think that if you want to be successful at trading in the stock market, you're going to need a crystal ball. After all, it's impossible to predict the future, right? Like any endeavor in life, before you decide it's impossible, get some advice from the experts. You might find that it's not so impossible after all. For daily market overviews that give you direction on the key indices, selective stocks, and commodities, subscribe to the Opening Call newsletter at TFNN.com. The Opening Call newsletter is written by Basil Chapman, creator of the trading methodology known as the Chapman Wave. The Chapman Wave up-down sequence gives you an edge in identifying price turns, finding the peaks and valleys in stock prices. Get the Opening Call newsletter by Basil Chapman in your inbox every day. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know, and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. TFNN.com, educating investors.
Everything in the universe is governed by the Fibonacci sequence. This mathematical principle is responsible for everything from the most aesthetically pleasing artwork to patterns in the stock market. To stay on top of stock patterns you can take advantage of, sign up for the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter at TFNN.com. When you subscribe, you'll get a weekly report from veteran day trader Larry Pesavento on stocks you need to pay attention to. And you can trust Larry's analysis. After all, he's got 45 years experience as a day trader. Larry will also provide daily charts, videos, and data on the key markets that he's tracking. Expect notifications from Larry on market movement you need to act on at any time. First-time subscribers also get a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're not satisfied, let us know and you'll get a full refund within 30 days of signing up. Subscribe to the Fibonacci 24/7 newsletter today. TFNN.com, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den. Hosted at Discord, TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Catch Tom O'Brien, professional trader and educator, founder of TFNN. Also, a special guest on CNBC. Tom will bisect and dissect the markets. The Tom O'Brien Show, next on TFNN.
As we come back, we'll try to get through the rest of these, but we only have a couple minutes. Seagate, nice, huge gap, lots of volume higher. I said maybe this one would be failing either this quarter or next quarter. Of course, much like Tesla, everybody is looking for this to fail, so it's always one where you want them to quit shorting. You had a huge day out here. You blew through the previous high. Really, there's a gap at about 72-ish. Yeah, there's a lot of these stocks that didn't have a lot of energy that are gapping higher, and they're having what's probably a buying climax on short sell numbers. So you might want to look through these the next couple of days for short opportunities. But again, probably after the Fed now, and maybe a little bit of fun buying. Tapestry, also a gap higher on about half the volume of yesterday, so not much to say there. Tractor Supply trying to get back into its previous high. Didn't quite get it today. Decent volume, but a little bit lower than the open, not a whole lot. course, we focused on Tesla and the massive shorting in it earlier in the show. United Rentals, a good sign of what's going on for the government part of building roads and bridges and everything else. Nice gap higher on this with some volume. So maybe there's more there. Valero, we talked about energy, and it's we've got that bad tick, but this thing is starting to tick through the June 8th high, 144.52. Let's see what we have here on this one, 148.68. So you're through it. You want to see the volume on that. V&O, we have time. Vornado, Truly Realty Trust. Tough to be in real estate with rising interest rates. Not much going on this one today. We'll see you tomorrow. We got lots of earnings after the bell tonight.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible.